On April 8th, 2016, this is Socialist number 19, day 6, part 3. Welcome back, bridge friends, and more on being a street smart bridge player. So we're going to take a look today at environmental factors, the top 10. We're going to take a look at the 7 deadly sins as espoused by the Dallas Aces world-class team in the Bermuda Bowl playing against other countries. We're going to take a look at risk-reward relationships and what it means to be a good competitor. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. Well, first off, we know that when we play, first thing we do is we pick up our 13 cards and we start taking a look at our high card points. We want to know about general, what are the values? Are they primary honors, aces and kings? Secondary honors, not quite so good. Queens and jacks, takes a while to develop those for tricks. And sometimes our body cards are useful. 10s, 9s, and 8s can sometimes get extra tricks. We also take a look at what it takes to make a contract. A 1 no-trump contract has to be more than half the points in the deck, or at least half of them, 20 points. 2 no-trump contract, bump it up to 23. A lot of people make this mistake. If both the opponents compete, 12 on one side, 6 on the other, we should not be in 2 no-trump on our side. We've got 20 points, 21 points. I don't think we're going to make 2 no-trump. A game, 25 points, maybe 26. That's 3 no-trump or 4 of a major. How about 5 of a major? Well, takes another trick, another ace. Then we get up to 29 and a slam 33, along with no 2 losers in any one suit. Grand slam 37 or more. Have the aces and kings, or at least sufficiency to run some long suits. Vulnerability and sacrifices is number 2. Harold Vanderbilt, when he was on a cruise ship at sea. You got to think, some of these other games, they have this risk-reward relationships of vulnerability, and so let's introduce it to bridge. So having vulnerable and non-vulnerable games required more points. Got more points for making them. If you went down, you lost more. So that was a nice addition to allow the opponents to begin to come in and bidding and sometimes make sacrifices, which means when we open in the first seat, well, we don't know what else is going on in the ecosystem. Second seat, we know that there's one person who's passed. If we preempt, there's only 2 players less. It's 50% chance we preempt our partner. Not as good a situation as preempting in the first seat. If you're vulnerable, even worse, isn't it? Third seat, you can't harm your partner. They're already a passed hand, so you can preempt with a little bit lighter values, especially if you're non-vulnerable. And we'll get in more about the rule of 2, 3, and 4 in a little bit. The relative seat to the opponent's bidding when it's a competitive auction. Now, if we've got tennises, that is like, say, kings and jacks or aces and queens, our right-hand opponent bid the suit, especially with a 5-bagger, if it was a major, then we know that we have a lot better chance to finesse them. If our left-hand opponent opened 1 heart, 1 spade, and we've got king, jack 3 times, well, we may not get any tricks from that. If they opened 1 heart, 1 spade, and we've got it in their suit. A club or a diamond, we're not so sure how long the suit is. But those are things to think about, is the relative seat and how the tennises would work against finesse opportunities. And then past hand bidding. Yeah, what are the rules? Are the same methods on if we make a bid where we're in the opponent's suit, a Q bid of the opponent's suit as a passed hand? Well, I guess it's forcing, but how much? Maybe our partner just opened with 10, 11 points in the 3rd seat or 4th seat. So we must be careful. And then if we're playing conventional methods, are they still on when we are a passed hand? Well, sure, if our partner bids a no-trump, we know they have 15 and 17, our Stamen and our Jacoby bids are still on. But some of them, they might be off in the past hand bidding. Okay, next up for environmental factors, the psychological effects. Now, we spoke about the emotional part of it before in the last segment, but let's go into some other details. So, how about the cumulative score? Yeah, that's right. Sometimes people take a look at the history. Remember, we talked about being in the now? Some people are still thinking about the past hand. What happened there? We want to get even, or we're anchoring what we should do now based upon what happened there. And we spoke about in the last session, in craps or whatever the gambling event you might be thinking about, the last roll of the dice has nothing to do with this one. It's still whatever the odds were before, but sometimes we hit this emotional side and we think it should. How about trust? Oh yeah, that's a big one. If our partner did something the other day and it didn't work out well, can we trust him this time? How about last hand? Those are the types of things where the emotional content, the psychological aspects of the game can rest well. You can have the X factor if you're doing it well, or can be against you. And for sure, do you have systemic bids that you hold on to? You have well disciplined? Do you preempt with 2 of the top 3? Maybe not in third seat because your partner's a passed hand. Okay, we give you a break. But in first seat, particularly second seat vulnerable, you ought to be fairly solid with your values. Don't make these mastermind or unilateral decisions. And concentration, yeah, we try to concentrate, but there are things when we get fatigued. We've been playing a lot of hands, or we have distractions going on in the room. Those will be factors. Our partnership compatibility is a big one, and we'll talk a little bit later about being a good partner and how having to find a good partner. But as we talked about in the last session, things such as, are we aggressive or a little bit more passive? Do we have a synchronicity between us? Or do we kind of have friction when one person makes undisciplined bid and the other partner makes disciplined bid? One person does a better job of signaling. The other person says, I don't want to waste my time signaling. Well, they're not being a very good partner then, are they? And how does that affect your compatibility? Fear and greed, yes, just like the stock market mentality. If a person has where they're always worried about what their partner thinks or worried about the opponents, that's not good. And conversely, if you have too much of the greed, you're probably going to have this problem with being unilateral decisions and not being disciplined. Very important. And as we said before about this cumulative store, if we feel like we got to get a catch up with what was happening on a previous hand, because especially if we made a mistake and we're going to unilaterally fix it ourselves, it might just be doubly bad, and then the partnership trust goes down even worse. Not a place we want to be in. Well, okay, let's go ahead and continue. So another one that comes up would be knowledge and complexity. Yeah, it requires a certain amount of judiciu as far as playing a lot. When you get your judiciu there and you're doing really well in terms of handling different types of situations, you're going to be better. So if you're playing against top competitors and you kind of are aware of their methods, what their signals are, and you can ask them certainly, but when we get to where we feel fine in various ecosystems at different levels, as well as knowing certain bids that we might make in a certain situation as past hand bidding, then that is going to be helpful. But that just requires traditionally a lot of time at the table to get to that point. Knowing the laws. Oh yes, bridge is a game of laws, and sometimes the opponents, well, let's not say they're unethical, but sometimes they do things that are not according to Hoyle. So, in fact, Hoyle, I guess, actually comes back from the days of whisk, was the precursor to the game of bridge. Now, how about that? So, yeah, you want to be sure that you have a familiarity with the laws, and we're going to talk about that some in a latter lesson. Okay, next. Common sense, good judgment. Well, we all have it. It's just our partners don't always, right? Well, they might be thinking about the same for us. So sometimes we're thinking clear. We have more of these deductions, inferences, or maybe just kind of intuitive. You get the table feel like who's got the queen. I don't know which way to finesse. I can finesse either way. Some people seem to have more of a knack of reading the opponents. Hopefully not doing parlor tricks by doing things to try to catch people off guard, but at least ethically trying to say, well, what do I think is going on? What about being a street smart bridge player and using some common sense and good judgment to our advantage? And for sure, the shape and the fit. The shape and the fit is big deal. You can have where, like the Duke of Cumberland hand or some of those where you have very few points and you can make a grand slam where the opponent has 30 points against you in the Mississippi riverboat hand. So yeah, if we have a really huge fit, a double fit, those are good things. And using the law of total tricks for how far we should bid when our opponents are bidding, if we have a big fit, then they obviously must have one elsewhere too. So we normally bid up to the level of the number of cards that we have in a suit. Our partner has 5, we've got 5, we should be bidding traditionally to the 10 level. That would be 6 of a book and 4 more. So we go 4 hearts, 4 spades, 4 diamonds, whatever. Obviously, that risk reward now with Harold Vanderbilt having introduced the vulnerability, we have to be a little bit careful with that. But basically, we like to compete to the number of cards that we and our partner have in a suit. Okay, bridge has winners and they have losers. And when you're playing social bridge, you might say, hey, which way is the bathtub facing? I want to sit with me and my partner in the direction of the bathtub because that's where all the cards come from. Where that came from, I don't know. But social bridge players, I've heard that before, and it's kind of fun. It's anecdotal, but you have to have something to say which way the cards might be lucky, and so I guess that's as good as any. But how about in duplicate? Traditionally, the better players sit north-south. I guess maybe they don't want to walk as much. Have you ever heard the joke about the person went to the doctor? Are you getting good exercise? Oh yeah, doctor, I'm getting a lot of good exercise. Well, what do you do, he asked. Well, I play bridge was the answer. Well, playing bridge, you don't get a lot of exercise there, do you? He says, well, I sit east-west. I move from table to table. No. Well, at any rate, just be aware is that when you're sitting down in your ecosystem, are you as good, better, or maybe lesser than your opponents? That might be something. I'm not saying you want to make unilateral decisions, but it might affect your bidding and your line of play. Also, seeding. When you're playing duplicate in a tournament, you will be table 3 and table 6 will oftentimes where they'll have the top players. Okay, the boards. If you're playing in duplicate and you have, let's say 13 tables or more, then you're probably playing 2 board rounds. There's a lot of commotion. We talked about how that can disrupt your communication. If you have 9 boards, then yeah, you might be playing 3 per table. If you have, like, say 6 tables, maybe 4 per table. If you have, maybe only 3 tables, you may be playing 5 boards per table. Kind of like you get when you're a 6 board, like say a Swiss team, or maybe when you're playing knockouts, you could be up to 12. And beware of the swing boards, or I should say, be aware of the swing boards. That is where you can see some hands are really distributional, and you can just feel if you've got, like, say, 20 points, only 1 spade, who's going to have the spades and be bidding against you? If they're not vulnerable, I'm expecting them to have a preemptive spade bid coming in. And always be thinking about a bid that you make next before you make the current bid. So also in the rule of anticipation, what would the opponents be doing based upon if I've got a shapely hand, if I've got a singleton or a void, somebody else probably has a long suit or has a 2-suited hand as well. Okay, let's now take a look at the risk and reward relationship. Yes, if we get, say, a part score in duplicate, it's worth 50 points. If you happen to make a game bonus, that is worth 300 points, non-vulnerable. If you happen to make a game bonus vulnerable, 500, small slam, 750, grand slam, 1,000, and more with vulnerable. And the penalties, as we spoke about, 50, 100, 200. If you're down 1 vulnerable, that's 200. 300, and then so on and so forth. So that risk reward definitely comes in to our bidding. When we get over tricks, not so much. When we happen to get our game, fine. When we get our other opponents down, when we set them, especially when they're vulnerable, especially when we double, we get a lot of extra points. Okay, so next is, what about the colors? Same colors, both green, both red, meaning we're both non-vulnerable or we're both vulnerable. Equal. If we are favorable vulnerability, we're green and they're red. We're not vulnerable, they are. That's condition green. We can bid a little bit higher to compete. Unfavorable when we're red, vulnerable, and they're not. They're green. Not so good. And that implies the rule of true 3 and 4 that we spoke about. So we take, especially when you're preempting, take a look and say, well, I've got 6 tricks. So if we're unfavorable vulnerability, we should only bid 2 more tricks in that. If we're going to open at, say, 2 spades, that's our 6 tricks and 2 more up in the ether. Hopefully our partner's got 2 cover cards, and we go ahead and bid 2 spades. If you have favorable vulnerability, sometimes, maybe more in third seat, you may want to go to the 3 level, 6 plus 3. The 6 plus 4, I'm not an advocate of that, and that's why I call it a guide and not a rule. Sometimes we have to use common sense, but it gives you a sense for that you can bid more when you have favorable vulnerability. Be more careful when you have adverse vulnerability. Okay, preempts. Well, yes. So when it comes to preemptive situations, hopefully you've got 2 of the top 3 if you're in first or second seat. And strange bedfellows, yeah, when somebody, your opponent or your partner, doesn't have 2 of the top 3 and they have like queen 6 times and out, queen and 5 other small ones, that's not a good time, because if your partner puts you in 3 no trump and then there's no entries to your hand, why did you start by making a preemptive bid? Sometimes it will work, is why we have strange bedfellows, and your partner says, see, it worked that time. Well, yeah, because I had the right points that were lucky for you, but we want to have disciplined methods we use with our partner. Balancing seat. Well, we like to compete at least through the 2 level, the 3 level, and the 5 levels often belong to the opponents, but we like to compete to the even levels, the 2 and the 4 level, when we have the shape and we have the law of total tricks working on our side. So yeah, those are times when we want to compete, and that means in the pass-out seat, we can take a little bit of liberties, borrow 3 points of virtual king from our partner to keep the auction alive. And our partner better remember that we borrowed that king and not just start bidding them on up, because if they go like let's say 1 heart, 2 hearts, pass, pass, I don't have to have much if I've got 4 spades to make a bid, because I know you've got the points. So if I've got 5 points and I don't have any hearts, I'm going to make a double or 2 spade bid just to get the auction going. And I hope my partner realizes that I'm bidding his or her points. Next, with a fit, we like to push the opponents to the 3 level, as we spoke about in that auction. So yeah, we like when, let's say it goes 1 club by you and then 1 spade, and I don't have the right type of a hand to make a negative double, to say like a takeout double by responder. It comes back to you. The idea is that you just don't let them have it. You do a reopening double and kind of keep the auction. The auction is too low. I don't have to make a bid if I'm playing with a really good partner, knowing that my partner is going to make another bid on my behalf in the pass-out seat. Okay, so much for that. Now, the Dallas Aces. When Ira Korn took over the team, he said, what we need to do is we need to be sure that we have total quality in our processes. So when we start playing against these great international teams, like the winners from Eastern Europe or even Western Europe, especially in places like Italy, the Italians were great with their strong club system, the blue club as they called it. So he said, in addition to knowing about systems, we need to know about each other and be accountable. And that means we need to have ways of critiquing. And so among the 7 ways to judge performance, they would do peer reviews and taking a look at what about the declare play, were there errors made. That doesn't mean that somebody just didn't realize that it had a 4-1 shape always, unless they had a better way to play it, if it was 4-1 against them. But no win plays. Did they take the best line of play? And how about the defense? Did they use the right lines of play on the defense? Was there something they could have known within, like, say, the first opening lead based upon the bidding, or something that happened during the line of the play? Next, bidding without values. That's a big no-no. Obviously isn't. That is kind of anti-partnership. It's mastermind. If you make a bid, you should have your values. You have to be dependable, trustworthy. System violations are where you have conventional agreements, but you don't play them or don't realize they're on in a certain situation. That would be something they would look at adversely. Next, unilateral actions. Oh yeah, that's definitely mastermind bidding, isn't it? Where I'm going to just go, my partner bid 1 spade, I'm going to go to 4 spades, and I don't really have points, and I don't have a law of total tricks hand with the number of trumps. Or maybe I did have 12 points and went 1 spade, 4 spade. Well, why aren't I bidding slow to show that I have a full opening hand? Don't make unilateral actions. And certainly mechanical errors. Now, we think Would a pro make mechanical errors? Well, it's not so much that they pull the wrong card out of the hand, although when you get fatigued, that can happen. Or have two cards pop out of the hand, then you got a major card that's a penalty, so that's not good. But no, it might even be something you're not holding your cards right and the opponent's looked at them. It might be something like you just didn't score right. You put the wrong score down and you lost the tournament because of the wrong score. There have been tournaments that has happened, or where they're before the official round has ended, when they're looking at the scores and they realize that they had the wrong number of imps on one of the boards and it was a 1 or 2 point swing that caused them, rather than to lose, to win. That would be a mechanical error. So there's a lot of things that can happen there that we need to be careful of. And lastly, impulsive errors. Yeah. This is probably, I think we spoke about anchoring, where you take a look at the last hand and we're trying to get even, the catch-up syndrome, those types of things where the egos, that right brain, that little devil on the right shoulder is not always our best friend. Well, okay, how about competition? Well, we obviously like to have the spade suit, and if we do, if we can find that spade fit, 4-4 fit, even though it's not a 5-3 fit, that's good. We can sometimes bid against the opponents, particularly when we're not vulnerable. We're using that rule of 2-3-4. Preempting and obstructive bids, certainly the opponents do that, and we want to be sure that we're not too conservative when it's time for a preemptive bid. When we have the values, come in with the bid. Okay, lead direction. Yes, when we make a bid, obviously, it should be a good opportunity for lead direction. Now, I just had a conversation from students the other day. Somebody opens one club, I've got 10 points, and I've got 5 little spades. Should I overcall one spade? Probably so, because we're still looking for a fit, and if you've got 3 spades, that's a good thing. That doesn't necessarily mean at the one level it should always be where I've got good lead direction, where I have to have 2 of the top 3. We just want to compete at this point. But if it's a 2 level, it goes 1 spade and now I'm going 2 hearts. I should have something like ace queen 5 times. You know, some people say, oh, it requires 6 cards in a suit. No, it doesn't. Top players never require that. But it should be a good suit, and it should have some lead direction when you're coming in at the 2 level. Okay. Suit quality. Yes, we like to have where we have honors, and there are working honors particularly, as well as those spotty cards. Double fits, misfits, and over and under. Yeah, if we have a fit, that's good. If we have a misfit, we don't want to bid so high. They probably have misfits also. And if they're in no trump, they can't find a fit. We're not likely to find a big fit our way. Okay? Next, over and under. Yeah, we talked about with the tennises, if our left-hand opponent has bid the major suit and we've got some honors in that suit, they're likely not going to work. The finesses aren't going to work. Our right-hand opponent bid a major and we've got tennises, split honors in those suits, more likely to be a good thing. Partnership trust. Yeah, especially like in that pass-out seat, I go ahead and make a reopening double or a suit bid. I expect you're not going to punish me later on by me doing that in the pass-out seat. So that is important. Hesitations. Yeah, we all do that sometime. We vary our tempo to varying amounts. But some of them, it's clear when a person doesn't make an opening lead for a minute against me, it's like they got kicked me on their back, finesse me, because I know that they can't make a lead because they've got some problems. And I can make inferences, maybe at my own peril, but more likely when we see hesitations, it shows various decisions that were being made, and so we can use that to our advantage. Tells, we all make various types of tells. Psychs, we better be a little careful with, because that's a double-edged sword, and you don't want that boomerang to come back and hit you, or your partner to hit you, and if your partner does, it's your fault because you psyched, right? So you have to be ready to say, I'm sorry, partner. Well, let's go ahead and head for the table and play some more hands, and this time we're into the declare play. So put on your good bidding hats, and I'll see you there. Okay, here we are at the table. Let's go ahead and try our first hand. So South is going to be the dealer. That's us, and we have a 5-4-3-1 shape. 5 clubs to the king. Diamonds, nice, 100 honors there. Ace, king, jack, 10. Spade, singleton, ace, and 3 hearts. So what's your opening bid? Certainly not going to be one no trump, I hope, with a singleton ace. 1 club do you want? How about 1 diamond? Yeah, one diamond is the correct bid, and why is that? Well, because our partner, oftentimes, the rule of anticipation, will bid the suit that we have least in. Just makes sense. So if they bid spades, and oh, that will be their suit, then what is your rebid going to be? In other words, before you make a bid, you should be thinking about your next bid. And your next bid will be, well, if you started with one diamond and partner was one spade, then you could go ahead and do two clubs, and that kind of describes your hand. If you had started with a, let's go ahead and erase this. What else could we start with? Some of you want to start with one club? Okay, let's go ahead and try that. One spade, you could rebid two clubs. I don't think this is very good values to making it like a 6-card suit. So if you go two diamonds, this then is a what's called a reverse. That says you have 16 or 17 plus points. Why? Because you're in a higher ranking suit the second time. Diamonds is higher than clubs, and you went from a 1 level and you went through the barrier. You were the first one to come in at the 2 level in a higher ranking suit. That was 1 club to 2 diamonds. If you do that, you want to have this 17 points or more. And why is that? Well, because if your partner supports clubs or diamonds, they have to do it at the 3 level. And if you're going to be at a 3 diamonds or 3 clubs, you should have 23 or more points. If you have 23 points, you better have 17 if your partner only has 6. Right? Okay, so yeah, we may make this mistake 3 or more times before we realize we have a singleton spade, that we have this 5, 4, 3, 1, 5 clubs for diamonds, is that maybe we should start off with diamonds. Now, if you happen to have good chunky honors in clubs, like say ace, king, queen 5 times, and maybe just queen 4 times in the diamonds, then I'm with you. Go ahead and start with the 1 club, and then just rebid 2 clubs as though it's a 6-bagger. It's such a good suit. I don't have a problem with that. But in this type of a hand, just kind of be thinking ahead. Some of these bridge hands, this is just an example that kind of epitomizes it, but sometimes it pays to think ahead before we make our first bid. It's easier to get out of it when we've had a little bit of a forethought, and especially when we have shortness, and use the rule of anticipation, as I call it, where a partner normally bids a suit that we have few in. So, okay, we're going to start with 1 diamond. It's going to be a pass over by the west. Our partner says for sure 1 spade, no surprise by us. A pass, although some people may want to come in with 2 hearts here. Good lead direction. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got a queen behind that. It's your behind it, right? You're over that. But I think it's still a little bit rich there. You might get by with it, but your partner may go up another level, past 2 spades to 3 hearts, and that wouldn't be good. So at any rate, okay, a pass. And we come back. Now we can quite easily bid 2 clubs. And our partner says, well, that figures. That's my rule of anticipation. I had few there myself. I don't think they're going to rebid 1 spade. It's not a great suit, and it's certainly not a 6-bagger. And we want to, even as responder, have 6 of them. So we said, well, our partner started with a diamond. Well, let's just rebid 2 diamonds. And the auction would pass out. And let's go ahead and see how the play might be. Over in the west now, you've heard the auction. 1 diamond, 1 spade, 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, all pass out. Doesn't sound like they have more than about 18 to 22 points at most, right? And how many do we have? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, our partner's got better part of 10 points, so let's see if we can find them. I wouldn't normally like to lead away from a doubleton, but this person says, well, I'm not going to lead my club suit, and I don't want to bid the spades. My lefty bid the spade suit, so I'm going to go the high-low this time. See if it works. So it goes with the 9, high-low from doubleton. And it holds. There's a queen 3 times on the dummy, so hey, we got in deep clover this time. So hey, once in a while it works. But here again, we knew that our partner had a lot of points. Based upon the inferences of the bidding, if they stopped at a low level, they probably didn't have 20 points hardly. So we play again to the 10. Okay, now they can go ahead and go up with their ace. It was a 5-3-3-2 suit, wasn't it? We had 5 over in the east hand, 3-3, and our partner went high-low with the 9-8 and is pitching a spade. Okay. Next, we come back with a club. And over in the west, went it with a 10. Things are looking good, aren't they? Come back with a spade. Finally, we're in the south hand. And we go ahead and play a club, and we're obviously going to do the roughing strategy, aren't we? King of spades, and we can this time do a pitch. Another spade, we rough it. And okay, we go ahead and play our top 2 diamonds. And after our top 2 diamonds, we can go ahead and give them 1 trick. So we have lost 4. We're going to lose more. We will make 8 tricks in the diamond suit. So all is well. So once again, the strategy on this hand is that we start off with the diamond suit and then the clubs. So if they bid spades, it's not a problem. And I don't think you're going to want to play this one in one no trump, I hope. Right? Okay, next hand. Okay, in our second hand in the set, this is actually coming from the Spingold tournament, and pros are playing, and I thank Frank Stewart for showing this in Becoming a Bridge Expert, a great book I might add. A lot of things for you who are advanced players and looking to go to the next step will find this book useful. Shows one bid that can have the worm turn the wrong way against you, and we'll take a look at it. South has a very nice hand. It's a 5-3-3-2, King, Queen, Jack, 5 times in hearts, King, Jack 3 times in diamonds, Ace 3 times in clubs, and 10 doubletons. So with about 16 points or so, opening 1 heart. Over in the west, it's a 4-3-3-3, Ace 3 times of hearts, Jack 9 4 times in the spade suit, and in the minors, it's 10 3 times. Not much going on there. Over in the north, nice hand. Get a bid 1 spade. I can see that with that Ace, King, Queen 6 times in spades. Singleton 10 in partner suit. Oh, that's too bad. Jack 9 4 times in clubs, and a double 10 in diamonds. So 1 spade is the response. Over to the east hand. And oh, by the way, they passed the first time. Let's see if they should have. It is a 5-4-3-1. Ace, Queen 9 8 5 times in diamonds. Reasonably good suit. King, Queen 3 times in clubs. Good suit. Working honors. 9 8 4 times in hearts, at least it's 4 in a major, and a singleton spade. So, yeah, I think I would have opened that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One distribution, if you want to call it that way, or 11 in a singleton. As you remember our previous lessons, we talk about opening 11 pointers that are reasonable. And this is about as reasonable as they get from what I can see. So, yeah, I like my working honors and my long suit. Everything's premium. I would have opened that 1 diamond. But they passed, but now they want to come in. And oh, by the way, there's one other thing to be aware of. They are vulnerable, and north-south is non-vulnerable. The plot thickens. When you come in with a 2-diamond bid, which is what this person did, over a non-vulnerable pair that haven't identified a fit, this could give you real problems, because if South makes a double, this is not for takeout. This is for penalty. When you know that you've got those kind of points, probably saying and said, hey, partner, I think maybe we can whack them if they go to the 2 level. And they did. Now, oftentimes it's 1 heart, 2 clubs, and then 2 diamonds, and that's for sure a situation where you know your partner's got 10 points or more. But in this situation, they said, yeah, I double that because I have King, Jack 3 times in the diamond suit. And if you're going against someone who's vulnerable and you're not, your partner, if they're expert, they might say, yeah, let's take a look at it. Now, I realize it would be difficult for most mortal Norths to say, you know, I think I better bid 2 spades or 3 spades. We could be missing a spade game. But with this singleton of heart, it could be a misfit. It's kind of a roll of the dice, isn't it? There is one other thing, though. Take a look at the east hand. Right here. How many hearts do you count? 4 of them. So you know that north-south have a misfit. Got to be 5 or more down here in the south hand. So yeah, you don't want to do that when you have a lot in the one of the opponent's suit, because if they have a misfit, you're vulnerable versus not. You come in at the 2 level. Yeah, it got a double. And it turned out that Norris says, you know, I am going to pass that, and the ball is in play. So let's see what happens. The opening lead is going to be the King of Hearts, obviously from a sequence, won by the ace. You thank partner. Thank you, partner, for that dummy. At least we've got one ace from them, but we can see we've got some problems here. So playing a heart, I guess try a 10 and see if it rides. No, it's won by the jack, as we expected in the south, the doubler. Come back with another heart. Oh, our partner shows out. Okay, that means if we saw 3 in the dummy and that singleton from our partner, it means it's a 5, 4, 3, 1, right? There's 4 by the person who made the 2 diamond bid, much to their chagrin. I guess they realize now. Our partner pitches off a 6 of spades. Okay, next, another heart. Everybody follows. And then another heart. Yeah, they can rough in, fine. We over-roughed it, and then with an ace of spades from the north hand, we play a king of spades. They get a rough. They play a club to our ace. We play a club back to their queen. And our partner wins the jack of clubs. It had insult to injury. They've won the rest of the tricks with their diamond. So, well, they got 5 tricks. That's down 3. Oh, they're vulnerable. 200, 500, 800, is it? Let's just write that down. 200 for the first one, then 300 thereafter. So 500 for the second one down, and a whopping 800 points. Yeah, the north-south, even if they made a vulnerable game, that would be 420. But, oh, by the way, it turns out they can't make game. Let's see what happens in spades. Well, you're going to have to lose 1 heart, 2 clubs, and at least 1 diamond. So, yeah, this is not going to be a pretty day for the north-south. Misfitting hands. Now, oftentimes, yeah, you would make 4 spades. This time you didn't. And when over here in the east hand, they came in at the 2 level, especially when you're a passed hand. If you're in a passed hand, then maybe they're going to worry and think, well, maybe they've got 16, 17 points. Maybe they'll make it. But when they're a passed hand and your partner's got a bid, now you're really on thin ice, treading in the deep waters, something like that. Maybe you'll go through the ice and in the deep waters. So, lesson learned, be careful coming in at the 2 level on a vulnerable game, unless you've got values. On the other hand, with 11 points of singleton, by all means, start off with 1 diamond and see where the auction goes. Okay? Well, okay, bridge friends, that completes part 3. I hope you're enjoying the show, and we've got in part 4 more to go. We're going to take a look at some of the laws on the proprieties of the game, get into etiquette and other fascinating parts of being a good player, which means you have to know some of the laws. This isn't going to be so much on the technical side, such as playing out of turn or leads out of turn or revokes, those types of things. This will be on the etiquette, the things we have to do in terms of, remember, we talked about the emotions. They come into the proprieties of the game. And we're also going to take a look at being and finding a good partner. So I will see you over on part 4. Have a great day playing bridge, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.